Well, holy stinking moly, guys. It feels like a millennium since the last time we recorded anything. Took a little bit of a leave of absence. We were moving into a new house, and I appreciate everyone's patience on that. I know it was kind of a lot longer break than I was expecting to take, but um, we made it back. We're here. We didn't, the channel didn't crumble into nothingness. So um, that's a positive, I guess. But yeah, so we got a lot of things we could talk about because we missed so much. But we're gonna kind of stick on something a little bit more relevant and something that we all enjoy, and that is the news that's come out in the last. I guess it's about in the last 2 or 3 weeks about the upcoming Lord of the Rings movie projects that Warner Brothers is, and I guess New Line Cinema, which is the ones that obviously produced the original Lord of the Rings movies and then the Hobbit movies as well. And I think they had some involvement on the Rings of Power from what I was reading. But yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit, give our thoughts, because I think there's some interesting tidbits to kind of flesh out there. But I'm going to pull up this this article here because it kind of lays out exactly what is to be expected. This is from Screen Rant. And let's see here. I'm gonna share my screen so we get it all the good stuff. Let's see. Bear with me. All right. Ooh, trippy. All right, can y'all see that okay?
Yep, sure can. Very bright.
All right. So this is one that just talks about every upcoming one. We're going to kind of skip down because I think we're all aware of the Rings of Power Season 2. We've all watched the trailer there. We're going to touch on that a little bit here, sort of towards the end.
Actually, I have not watched the trailer yet for Season 2 because I probably wasn't planning on watching it. So.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I never watched the trailer for it. So.
Yeah, I don't necessarily blame you much for that, but and then we're all kind of. I know at least I've been aware of and I think Drew, you've been aware of it too. But the animated movie, the War of the Rohirrim, is set into this year, December. So
yeah, I'm excited for this actually. Kind of it's be like an animated Lord of the Rings. I think that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen much footage or anything. Or it's animated, so I haven't seen a lot of stuff about it. But
no, I haven't either.
I knew it was there.
I was going to say, I think there's been a trailer that I feel like I vaguely remember watching it, but it's been so long that I can't recall much about it. I'm not really super familiar with the history behind this, so
not either. That
might be a good one to have Tanner back on for because he seems to know a good bit about. But anyway, yeah, the first one that is confirmed that we know what the movie is about. And there's a lovely picture for you. Here's a better one right here.
That's a good one.
But yeah, so this one, I want to give my thoughts on it in a minute when we kind of read through the announcement. But I've got a few thoughts on this. But yeah, so the announcement that they're doing a Golum movie set between the events of the end of The Hobbit and sort of Bilbo's quest, and then where Frodo leaves the Shire towards the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. And the article kind of lays that out here. But the other news is that this sort of, I guess, the more prominent news in this article is that Andy Serkis is reprising his role not only as Gollum, but he's also directing the film. And that Peter Jackson is actually a executive producer on the project. So I think that's immediately is pretty crazy to think about. But I'm interested to hear what y'all think, because what I'm seeing here is that it's essentially going to be about everyone's hunt for Gollum, from Sauron to Gandalf to Aragorn, and them trying to get to it, get to him, because to the best of their knowledge, he's the only one that knows anything about the whereabouts of the One Ring. So,
well, in the book, it goes into a lot of detail, and that note there kind of says it. But that once Bilbo's birthday is over in the book, Gandalf goes to try and find Gollum because he's trying to confirm basically that Frodo has the One Ring. Like, that's it.
Which we see that in the movie. Yeah.
Right. But there's just not in the movie. It's just kind of it's not a said like this is how much time has elapsed. In the book, it kind of goes into a little bit more detail about, Frodo moved houses, like he moved.
I think in the book, it's like a 30-something year gap.
It's a long time. It's not like a 5-year or nothing. It's like 30 years, like, because Frodo turns 30. And then I think it's 20 or 25 years, and he looks the same as he did when he turned 30. I just remember it being
like a 20 or 30 year gap from the time like Bilbo leaves to the time that Frodo has to flee the Shire.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see, and I'm sure I don't know if we'll know before the movie or not. So like Gandalf and Aragorn catch Gollum, and then he kind of gets loose. And then Sauron catches him. And that's when he tells him that, Shire Baggins has the ring. So I'm interested to see how far they go. I just hope, and I don't think they will with Andy Serkis and Peter Jackson being in there. I don't think they'll necessarily change the source material. I know they had to take liberties on the 3 movies just because the material is so big. But
small liberties, but
right. But as long as they don't change, like, Aragorn and Gandalf caught him, he got away from him. Actually, they gave him to the Wood Elves. He got away from the Wood Elves, and then Sauron caught him. So as long as they don't go from that, I think we're in for a good one.
Very possible.
So, and this is one where I was kind of like. Until I sort of saw the story that they were going for, I was kind of like, why are we doing this movie? Because we kind of know Gollum's whole story arc. The movies, especially through The Hobbit and through The Lord of the Rings, even though there's huge gaps of his life that they leave out, they basically tell us his entire story through those 6 movies. And so I was on the train at first where I was like, do we really need, like, of all the things you could do one about, is this really the one that you go with? I get why, because Andy Serkis, obviously, being able to bring him back in that iconic role, Peter Jackson's involved, and you have the potential, like the article says here, for Ian McKellen, Viggo Mortensen, obviously, those, some of it maybe, Frodo, possibly Elijah Wood. It's one of those things where I can see why they would go here, because it feels almost like familiar territory. It's a feel good feeling for the people that loved the original 3 movies, and but at the same time, I'm like, not what I was expecting. So it's kind of interesting.
I know Viggo, I think, got interviewed, and he said that he'd be willing to come back and actually play Aragorn if, like,
I think he's actually come out and said that. That may be after this article.
So, I mean, if that's the case, that'd be kind of cool seeing him back in the role. But, like, they would have to, like, do it right, though, because he's, like, pretty up there in age. Like,
he's got to be like, what, 50s or 60s now?
Yeah, he looks like he's older too. Like, he does not look young anymore. So,
well, and I'm less worried about him than I am
Ian McKellen.
Yeah, Ian McKellen. Yeah,
he's like in his 80s, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not in a wheelchair. If he's not,
literally.
If he's not,
I think the Viggo possibility is probably the most likely of any of them, because I mean,
I can maybe see like Elijah Wood making an appearance possibly as well. I feel like
at the beginning and the end, maybe.
Yeah, but like that's really about it, though. I think those are like the only 2 that I could see being in it.
Now, I'd be interested to see, because I know Anthony Hopkins is kind of up there in age. I'd be interested to see if they might try to bring Martin Freeman back as Bilbo, possibly.
Yeah.
I
I think he did fine in The Hobbit.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
Yeah, he was definitely not the problem.
No.
Yeah. I don't really think any of the actors in The Hobbit were the problem. I think it was more just execution more than anything.
The first movie was fine, even of The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first one wasn't that bad at all. I think the first one was pretty good.
Anyway, I think you're right. It's all about execution. It's not that they left. They did leave. They took some liberties, just like they did with other movies.
They took more liberties with The Hobbit, and I think that was part of the problem. Is there was parts of those films that felt almost unrecognizable from the book, and
that's
where it gets.
Stay true. This is going to be kind of uncharted territory, I would say, because this is probably one of the first films. Well, it is the first film that's not directly tied to a book.
It's tied to some of the extra writing, I'm sure, or stuff that's alluded to in the Fellowship of the Ring.
There's a lot that's alluded to, and in the book, I don't know if you've listened. I listened to the book a couple months ago, actually, the first Lord of the Rings book. But Aragorn constantly mentions in the first book how he had to go catch Golum, how he caught him, like all the lands he had to go through to catch him, and the places he had to go, Frodo and them couldn't believe the heights, whatever, it just mentions it. And in the book, I mean, it mentions it in the movie too, but in the book, it mentions a lot more how Gollum is literally chasing them the whole way.
Yeah. And I think he's kind of only briefly mentioned in the first movie. You get a brief glimpse of him when they're in the Mines of Moria.
I think that's it.
Yep, that's it.
He follows them all the way. I mean, like there's a part in the book, right as they're going down the river. Of course, in the movie they just fly right by it, but it took them like a week on the river to get to where they were going after they leave the elf land there. I can't remember
what it's called either. Yeah,
Lothlorien.
Yeah, Lothlorien.
Yeah.
Once they leave Lothlorien, it takes them like a week, and he's like paddling behind them on logs and stuff.
Well, there's a deleted scene of that actually from the first movie that they cut out. Yeah, where Frodo looks back and he sees him briefly.
So I'll be interested.
He's like hiding behind the wood piece, I think.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what they do. As long as they stay true to source as much as they can, like don't change what the basic premise of what happened. Obviously, they're going to be able to take liberties because it's not written all out.
Yeah,
but
I think it could be a fun little spinoff if they do it right. I think it's just that, like we've said, it's execution.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, like they're obviously grasping at straws because it's hard to come up. Apparently, people can't come up with original ideas anymore.
No.
For movies, so they're going back to what worked in the, what worked last. Well, Lord of the Rings worked pretty well, so we're gonna do a spinoff off of that. I mean, it would make money if they do it right.
Yeah,
and they'll make more money if they do it right and continue to do more of them right.
Well, even like the Hobbit trilogy made like a good bit of money. I'm pretty sure if I remember.
They did.
They made like a ton of money on it. So
both trilogies made pretty well from what I remember. But
well, I think where this movie needs to shift back to its roots of like the original three is, and this is something that was bad about The Hobbit, is The Hobbit was CGI'd to death to where there was so much of it that they just decided we're just going to computerize it because we don't want to, use, real actors or whatever it is. So like there's a lot of scenes that just don't look real, and I think that's what was so good about the original three is they used so much practical effects and live locations, and they had people dressed up as orcs, and they still had a lot of CGI, but they used a lot of but
that scene of Legolas jumping on the elephant, I thought that looked so fake every time I watch it.
But at the same time, it's like it's when you use it only when you have to. I feel like is when movies are at their best, and I think they've got to go back to that and really dig in. And I think with a movie that's going to be, it seems to be more small scale than the original three and even The Hobbit. I think you can pull that off pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, just make it. What happened to movies that are just an hour long? Now I go to a movie and it's 2 hours and 45 minutes long. Give me a
that's
short.
another thing. They make a lot of movies that are way too long. They don't need to be that long.
Just give me a short hour and 15-minute.
Agreed.
Yeah. This one's going to be at least 2 hours.
Yeah, probably.
Golly,
That kind of leads us into
movies have to be short.
Yeah.
You can't tell a story in 60 minutes. Why do I have to sit there and watch it?
Well, this one this other announcement. It doesn't really tell us much of anything, but it's just an announcement that Warner Brothers, basically announced that there's going to be multiple feature films, and that there's obviously going to be more. The question would be, I guess I'd like to hear y'all's opinion briefly. If they were to do another set of movies, give me what you think it's going to be, and then give me maybe what you'd like it to be.
If they're gonna
do something like that, I feel like they would probably do like.
If they're gonna do another 3, it's got to be the Silmarillion.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, there's a lot that you could just make movies off of, like the end of Return of the King. Like, well, the Hobbits go back to, all the the Shire, and it's like Sauron is like taking it over, and he's like got a bunch of bad guys running around, and they basically like, lead a revolt and kick them all out. So that would be a good movie.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind having like one like involving like Boromir probably like before he joined the Fellowship in the first one. Maybe just like kind of like his early years of like in the war and stuff. I think that would have been kind of interesting. They'd have to obviously get another actor though, which would be kind of I don't know. I mean, I guess Sean Bean doesn't look that old, but they would have to like CGI his face a good bit probably. But
I don't know that I'd be able to say which one I think it's going to be very well. I think they're going to try, much like this movie, the Golum movie, they're going to try to do something based on an actor that they know they can use again from the original movies. So I would not be shocked to see.
I really wouldn't be shocked if they do like an Aragorn, honestly, like spinoff, or a Boromir spinoff, like I said, or Legolas even. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. That's true.
Yeah, he's gone. He's in the ether. He'll join us again in a second, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So me personally, if I had to choose a time period that it's been explored in sort of the prologue of the Fellowship of the Ring, but not really fleshed out, I would love to see a movie, or maybe even a series of movies based on the War for the Ring, which is see, fight with Sauron.
Yeah.
They cut the one ring off his finger, but I would sort of like to see the build up to that.
Yeah, I mean, you could even like go past that too, like the in between, like the Hobbit and that as well, the War. I mean, with them. Like,
there he is.
Yeah, there
every time, I swear.
Well, I was just saying the movie that I would like to see is one that fleshes out what we see in the prologue of Fellowship of the Ring, which is the War for the Ring and Sauron. They kind of talk about it. They lead right up to where Isildur cuts the ring off his finger. But I'd kind of like to see a movie or a series of movies about the build up to that.
Does the Silmarillion not go all the way? I haven't finished it. It's a rough read.
Is the War for the Ring considered Third Age or Second Age?
Second Age.
Yeah, I think it was Second Age.
It's the start of the third. End of the second. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm pretty sure it's the end.
I'm fuzzy on that. So
haven't made it to the end of the Silmarillion. That is a rough. That's rough. You get halfway through the book and it's like, oh my goodness, are we ever going to stop talking about this? It seems like the same thing.
Well, it's more like reading a history book, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's not written like Lord of the Rings. It's not a.
No.
It's just like it's basically Tolkien's version of how the God of Lord of the Rings made everything, and it gets
So
more
like
how
Rings of Power, but better.
well, even further than that, it's like he created life. I mean, like, and then where Morgoth came from, where the elves came from, where the dwarves came from, all that stuff.
Interesting. Sounds good.
I'll get around to reading it eventually. I've read all the other stuff. I just haven't. Well, except for some of the extra writing, but
I got plenty of it. You can have it. I got the three big. I don't think they're right here, but the three big, thick collection of Lord of the Rings.
I might take you up on that one day.
It's a lot.